feel like my head is just a little too high. It's close enough, I guess. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to ELP. My name is Justin, in case you didn't know. In case you didn't know by the name of the channel, just JP. Just first half of my first name, JP. It's my initials. Just worked out that way. Today we're listening to Emerson, Lake and Palmer with their song Abaddon's Bolero. I almost said Bolero, but I guess you can do either or. Off of their album Trilogy, which was released in 1972. Bolero, Bolero. I mean, I guess it kind of works either way. Finishing the album, who's texting me? I'm so sorry. I thought I had my Do Not Disturb on. Finishing up the album, I don't want to say this too preemptively, guys, but Trilogy, thus far, it's been my favorite album from ELP. I think it hits all the right notes. I think everything in it just feels right, makes sense. Everything's just, I don't know, everything just feels right. I did not know what a bolero was because I didn't know what either of these two words really meant. Even though I have heard the term Abaddon because I played Guild Wars a long time ago when that came out, and I think the last PvP area was called like Abaddon's Mouth or something like that. I think that has something to do with like the underworld. But a bolero, reading off of Wikipedia, refers to two distinct genres of slow-tempo Hispanic music and their associated dances. The oldest type of bolero originated in Spain during the late 18th century as a form of ballroom music. So just before listening to this song and coming here to record this song, I listened to just a small, like very small piece of the London Symphony Orchestra Bolero. 15 minutes. I have no idea if it's even related to this, but I wanted to hear what like Bolero was, or at least what it could have been. So I listened to a little bit. Actually kind of cool. I liked it. It's like a slow build-up with some marching drums and stuff. I don't know, it sounded pretty good. So I don't know if that has any relation to this or not, but I guess we'll find out soon. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this album listen of Trilogy. Thank you so much for just being here on the channel in the first place. I hope that you're having a great day. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon as well. There's just been an influx of people that have been doing that, so thank you so much for doing that. It's been a huge help, and I really appreciate that as well. Of course, you can also join me on Twitter. I would love to hear your thoughts on the album, on the song. If you feel this is their best album, tell me why. If you feel like you hate this album, tell me why. But regardless, let's finish it out with Abaddon's Bolero by ELP. an interesting way to end the album. Really interesting way to end the album. All right, really quick, 99% sure. That was the same synthetic sound or synth sound that was used at the end of Lucky Man, right? I'm 99% sure. And I think it's hilarious that they brought it back in to end this song with. I don't know what, this is such an interesting end to the album. Because on its own, this is like just this huge, like, huge just build up, right? This is like that ski lift going to the top of Everest, okay? It's a long ride up. I like everything that they throw into it because it does have its own sort of momentum that really picks up as it goes. Not so much with the changes in rhythm because there really aren't any, and not so many with changes in tempo because it doesn't build up into a giant change. What it does do is pretty much just add layers upon layers of layers of sound. Mostly brought on by Emerson, but definitely by Greg and Keith as well. Or not Keith, oh my gosh, I know I just said Emerson. But by Greg and by Palmer as well. So beginning with really just this marching snare, that's really all it is. And drum-wise, that's pretty much what it is for most of the song. Then I believe there's some toms that are added in to kind of give it a bigger, thicker, and louder sound. But then going back to the beginning of the ski lift, we have Greg coming in with some bass, really nice bass lines that perfectly match alongside the drumming. And then, of course, Emerson comes in with all his magic, with all his wizardry, with all his tools and his kits and his synths and his keys and his organ. And I think there's Mellotron in there. I'm not 100% sure about that, so don't quote me on that. I could have been wrong. But near the end, there's a sound that really, I guess it could just be a different kind of synth. This is just one big build-up, brick by brick, until it eventually creates a wall of sound, basically. But we get some little twinklings from Emerson over here. But let's compare just briefly, 36 seconds in right now, right? Let's just skip ahead a little bit, just so we can get an idea of what's been tossed in from this point. Okay, 2 minutes and 42 seconds. That warm bass from Greg. The synth has come up a little bit more. The drumming is still the exact same pattern, but just a little more elevated, especially in the mix. Skip ahead just a little bit more, just 450. Now it almost feels more orchestral. Still has that exact same melodies that are going on, but it definitely feels bigger. Greg is becoming a lot more emphatic in his playing. The crash, that was interesting when they brought it, or when Palmer brought that in, because once again, drums have not changed that much from the beginning. See what I just did there? That's a ELP joke. But I like how subtly, for example, Palmer is adding in more things. Not a lot. He doesn't do a lot in this song, but he does carry a certain, like I said, a certain elevation as the song picks up. Same thing with Greg. I want to say that Greg's also probably doing some things with the bass, not just what we hear of him doing the bass, as we would expect, but I feel like there's some extra effects on his bass as he's playing later. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I hear so many other sounds that I believe are coming from Emerson, that unless Emerson is an octopus, that I have to believe that Greg is also doing those other bass sounds there. So it's interesting structurally because this song doesn't really have a typical payoff near the end, right? This doesn't all build up into some like huge explosion and seismic change or shift in the music where the whole dynamics of the song are changed. It's pretty much just a constant river of flow. But I feel like the climax of the song is actually in, once again, the layering of how everything is done, rather than a change in the music or the structure itself. So on that side, it's kind of cool. You know, I like to hear how they build it up. And going back to what I had heard of Bolero from, let me just pull it up, the London Symphony, it does sound the same. I did immediately recognize the drum pattern. I mean, it's a very simple drum pattern, but I'm just going to play a little bit really quick here. Hopefully there's no ad. There's probably going to be an ad. Oh, there's no ad. I'm just going to skip a little bit ahead in the London Symphony Orchestra playing Bolero. So of course you got the drum sound. That's the easy thing to pick out. And even the playing here. Yeah. So one of the coolest things is how much classical influence, and I guess really a lot of different influences from so many different types of music that ELP bring into their own sound. I mean, it really does feel like they take a song, like a classical song, for example, like this, put it through their meat grinder, the ELP branded meat grinder, and out on the other side, you get two men who are joined together, one that's not quite joined together, but a really cool conclusion to the album. And once again, just listening to the London Orchestra, we get the exact same thing where I'm in the first 3 minutes, and this is how light, gentle, airy feels. Very easy to vibe with. Now, if you skip ahead to, let's just skip ahead like to 11 minutes in here. So much more bombastic, so much bigger and grander, just as ELP did. But like I said, ELP puts their, their certain spin on it, their certain brand of flavor on it, their certain spice on it, and it comes out quite nice. It says, almost every time an instrument comes in, another overdub follows. The song was only played a handful of times live, with Greg Lake handling Mellotron. I told you there was Mellotron in there. And additional Moog synthesizer duties. The song turned out to be a disaster. When the tape stopped midway through the song during one show, it was cut from the set list. The band did eventually bring it back at the start of their 1977 tour, during which they were accompanied by an orchestra. I figure that if they were worried about it cutting out again, they could at least use the orchestra to kind of back up and fill in those spaces. This is really cool, listening to this album, kind of getting the whole picture. I like how, yes, just like their self-titled, they brought in influence from other songs from classical music, but at the same time, they also did their own thing. They put their own spin on their music. They did their own original stuff. I think this sounds original in their language and in the way that they did it. This is just a really nice album. Personally, if I'm being nitpicky, I would wish that there was some sort of other kind of payoff on the end of the album, because this does feel like just a build-up, and I don't really get the payoff that I'm personally looking for. But this is just, subjective. This is just my little complaints, but it is very tiny in comparison to the great work that they've done on this song and throughout this album. Of course, I would love to know what you guys thought of the song. I would love to know, once again, what you guys think of Trilogy as a whole. I hope that you join me on Twitter. I hope that you absolutely, if anywhere, join me in the comments down below. Of course, like I said before, you can support the channel on Patreon, but you don't have to. I enjoy just you being here. I feel like there's something else to say, but I don't really think so. Oh yeah, press the like button before you leave. Apparently if I remind people near the ending of the video, it helps and gets the likes, up there, because it helps my videos get viewed more, or at least it tells YouTube, like, hey, we should push this guy's videos a little bit. Guys, hope you're having a wonderful day. Have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.